Over the span of a week, David went from being a beloved superstar to having his whole life unravel in front of the entire world. On top of the multiple songs, music videos, and interviews that have aged horribly ever since the news came out of Celeste Hernandez being found in his Tesla, it seems like every day more pieces of evidence keep coming out against him, making his situation worse and worse. The internet has done more detective work to expose every facet of this man's life than the cops have done over the past couple of weeks. And the craziest part is, he hasn't even been arrested yet, but as he's exposed for the person he really is, the walls are closing in on him and he's bound to go to jail soon. Before it all got to this point, he was trying to be a Fortnite YouTuber just 5 years ago. He had been doing this since the pandemic and he started having some success around 2021. But somewhere along the way, he was losing his motivation to do YouTube. He still uploaded videos, but he was losing his confidence in actually turning this into a career. He had been making music on the side since 2020, but he started taking it more seriously and dropped his first song in December of 2021. He was making Fortnite compilations, but his videos kept getting copyright claimed because of the songs he used to put in the background, meaning he wasn't able to make money off of them. He decided to instead put his own music in the background of his videos. He also started going by David around the same time, and for the moment, he was putting focus into his music along with the YouTube videos. Being a Fortnite YouTuber and musician at the same time was actually starting to work for him. He previewed a song on Twitter called Romantic Homicide in the summer of 2022 and his fans loved it. He dropped it on July 20th and it was enjoyed by a small fan base at the time. But what he didn't know was how far this song was about to take him. Romantic Homicide blew up and took over TikTok in the summer of 2022. He got noticed by Interscope and signed a $3 million record deal with them. The song debuted at number 77 and peaked at number 33 on the Billboard. Keep in mind, he got to this point off a song he made using Apple earbuds and BandLab. From this point on, his career skyrocketed and they helped him put out another big hit called Hero Me, which took over TikTok again and peaked at number 60 on the Billboard. He opened up for Sizzle on the SOS tour. He dropped the Petals to Thorns EP, which did pretty good, and he sold out a tour for that project. He had a song on the TV show Invincible called Feel It back in 2024, which also had a lot of success. At this point, David had become a superstar. He went from recording songs on BandLab in his closet off an iPhone to taking over the charts and doing sold out shows. But while everything seemed perfect on the surface, something was going on behind the scenes. This whole time, there was signs of what was really going on that nobody picked up on until recently. David had met a girl through the internet named Celeste. Messages from his Discord server resurfaced showing that he had known her back in 2022. Keep in mind, she was 12 at the time of these messages and David was 17. But a tweet he made in May of that same year showed him having a convo with someone saying, quote unquote, our circumstances won't allow us to be in our ideal situation, and that they gotta quote unquote push through it. This tweet can be interpreted as David trying to groom Celeste and separate her from her parents. The date of this tweet was before her birthday, so this implies that he knew this girl back when she was 11. And with a screenshot coming out showing Celeste's Discord profile, it says she had been in the server since January 4th, 2021. This was before her birthday, meaning that he could have met her back when she was 10. Around the same time, he was still trying to be a Fortnite YouTuber. Considering the fact that most of his songs are love songs, she's definitely the person he's been talking about this whole time. The girls in the music videos look a lot like Celeste, and because of how he's being portrayed being in a relationship with these girls, this feels like he's hinting at the fact he's grooming Celeste while trying to keep this a secret. A lot of his music talked about fantasizing murder or portraying him murdering someone he was in love with. Even his biggest song is called Romantic Homicide. Throughout the music video for Romantic Homicide, you can see the imagery in the music video is showing exactly that. On top of the fact that's what he's talking about in the lyrics too. In the Genius interview for Romantic Homicide, he is seen repeating over and over again that the song is not literal and is made up.
So what inspired the hook, in the back of my mind you died, where she died in the back of my mind. Like, I didn't kill her physically, but in the back of my mind, she died. And I didn't even cry, not a single tear. I've seen people online take different meanings and interpretations from that one part of the song where it's like it's their past selves that's dying.
At the time, all this imagery and explanation could have just been interpreted as him playing a character, but knowing what we know now, this is definitely not the case. Now, this is clearly just an attempt to cover up his disturbing fantasy, and him clarifying this over and over again shows he was paranoid of people finding out. This ain't the only time he's disguised his true intentions as just artistic expression. In another interview from just a few months ago, he talked about having an alter ego that kills people.
Introduce a character that I had been kind of ideating for a really long time. That's why you see him with the blindfold. I'm really big into anime and I'm really big into manga, and I wanted to make my own manga series at one point, and I was writing a lot of poems and writing a lot of things for it. And a big part of that manga was an evil version of me named Itami, which means pain in Japanese, and he wears his blindfold and he's basically an agent of chaos and kind of my alter ego. And the story of the manga went like I was a detective and there was an evil version of myself that would kind of come out at random moments, kind of like Fight Club with Tyler Durden. He would commit the crimes that I would have to solve as the detective. So like when I was as the detective, I'd be like solving murders that I'm committing myself.
And during that same interview, he also mentioned how his mama didn't like the song Romantic Homicide and how he took that as a challenge.
After I made that song, I showed it to my mother and she was like, "That song's too violent and too sad. You're not releasing it. My son is not gonna be talking about killing people in music." I'm gonna take that as a challenge, low-key, because like every time.
In hindsight, David's obsession for mixing love and violence together was a huge warning sign. This type of behavior is a warning sign for potential domestic abusers and murderers. Knowing the kind of person he truly is, this shows how dangerous this situation was to Celeste. In 2023, he performed an unreleased song on stage talking about how he's breaking the law with his relationship to Celeste.
I don't care about the law when I'm with you, 'cause I be breaking it all the time. And I don't really mean to cause no issue, but I need you to know, baby, I need you to know. Is I'm feeling it, dark hair, brown skin, love that melanin. Baby, if you look up for love, I think they selling it on the corner of the street that I'm feeling it.
In December of that same year, he made another song dedicated to Celeste, but this time he actually says her name twice, adding more proof that David was grooming her. This song was also unreleased, but it fully got leaked onto the internet just recently. Throughout 2023, David continued grooming her, and they even met in person in December of 2023. They were seen together on a live stream back in January 2024, and this was when people started finding out the truth. In the chat, you can see someone say David Epstein flightless, and even Celeste herself knew he was a groomer and said this.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of kids.
Really good.
Okay,
It's
bye.
been a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Mwah, mwah.
Even though Celeste basically said that she was aware that he was grooming her to his face, he laughed and tried asking the mods to delete the live stream. David was trying to keep all this a secret, but this wasn't the only time he was called out for this, because there were comments posted under his videos and people inside his Discord server pointing this out back in 2024. There's literally a photo of David paying someone off, possibly to stay quiet. Someone actually tried to expose him for this in a TikTok back in 2024, but it didn't go viral until recently. From this point on, David would be seen with Celeste over and over again in the future. And in 2024, he managed to convince Celeste to run away with him, and she actually did that in February 2024. She was reported missing and then returned home in March. She also ran away in April and was reported missing again, but she was never found. This was confirmed by her old teacher.
We all just found out yesterday who it was, but she's been missing since I taught her. So when I taught her, she met this dude on social media. He was a rapper in LA. He came and got her. She ran away from home. She was gone for like a month. The cops found her in Hollywood, brought her back to our school. She came back to our school, kind of told people this story. She disappeared again in May of that year, May of 2024. That's when her friends told me what happened, that it was this rapper, and then I found out yesterday that she's now dead in that rapper's car, cut into pieces. You want to know how they met? I feel like I just said it. social media.
As time has gone by, police have figured out that Celeste came from a dysfunctional home. And knowing this, it's possible that David used this to his advantage to manipulate her and convince her to run away with him. Afterwards, David started spending a lot more time with her. It's rumored that David was bringing her to parties and was going around acting like she was 19. Police confirmed that Celeste was using fake IDs, and that's very believable considering how David was able to keep this whole thing a secret for over 4 years, while being a celebrity during the age of the internet where this kind of stuff gets out way faster. He even brought her on tour. There's evidence including photos and videos of Celeste backstage with David. He got Celeste pregnant sometime during the summer of 2024 and announced it in his Discord server in July. How we know the deleted user is Celeste is because that same deleted user posted a photo with a tattoo on their finger matching the one that David has too. Around the same time, he was reposting TikToks about being way too obsessive about your girlfriend and other concerning things. In September of that year, Celeste was seen on a doorbell camera in her neighborhood, showing that even after she went missing, she still went back and forth from time to time. In 2025, David started hanging out with another girl who's 23 that looks a lot like Celeste, possibly to cover up the fact he was dating a minor this whole time. By this point, David had probably realized there were people who were trying to expose him, and he thought he could sweep this under the rug before the world found out. This Celeste is not the murder victim. Over the summer of 2025, he was getting ready to start up his tour for his newest album called Withered, and he did a show on July 30th before the tour started where he was holding a funeral for his alter ego. Celeste's friends had stopped hearing from her around late July or early August. David's Tesla was hidden somewhere in his neighborhood and had been reported abandoned since the beginning of August. The tour started on August 5th and the first show was over in Del Mar. Del Mar is over an hour away from Hollywood, and it's very believable that he was able to abandon his car right at the beginning of August and then go over to Del Mar on the 5th. While David was on tour, the Tesla was found and ticketed 3 times until it got towed on September 5th. It was sitting in the tow yard for a few days until the cops were called because of a foul odor, and that's when they found Celeste. Alright, so just to recap, he had been grooming this girl since she was 10 years old, back when he was still a Fortnite YouTuber before Romantic Homicide even came out. And he continued doing this even as he was just starting to become famous. People in his Discord server knew who she was and that they were together, but only a small amount of people really knew the truth, and the secret would only start to get out later on. For a while, he was somehow managing to keep this whole thing a secret, even though he was dropping subliminals in his music and was becoming a superstar. But in 2024, around the same time they were being seen together, was when people within his Discord server started figuring out she was a minor and that she went missing. He tried paying people off to keep quiet about this, but he couldn't give everyone hush money because there were people talking about this outside his Discord server, but their warnings weren't noticed by the general public. He got Celeste pregnant sometime during the summer of 2024. They got matching tattoos. He reposted very concerning TikToks that line up with what eventually happened. In 2025, he started hanging out with a lookalike who's 23 to try covering this all up. By August, Celeste's friends had stopped hearing from her completely. David started his tour on August 5th. His car was abandoned for around a month, got sent to the tow yard, and only days later the cops were called after a foul odor came from the Tesla. Only then was when the world found out about the body in his car. Now here we are today. Whenever the news came out, originally everybody was divided about this. Half of people were wondering if he was being framed, while the other half were starting to get suspicious. Nobody knew what was going on until they found the tattoo on the body that matches David's. Once the cops figured out it was Celeste and all these details came out, it was basically over for David's career. Multiple pieces of evidence, including screenshots, photos, and videos, on top of the realization that David's whole career was just a big confession, ruined his reputation almost immediately. The whole world got exposed to so much evidence proving that he was grooming Celeste, and her own mother said that she had a boyfriend named David and confirmed the matching tattoos. His songs didn't really age that well because of all that stuff fantasizing about murdering his lover, tour, and even when new details were coming out every day and the world was figuring out who he really is, he was still on tour. Even though brands dropped him, artists were distancing themselves from him, the comments on his TikTok and Instagram were turned off, and his reputation was completely ruined. He just kept on touring, and it took him around a week and a half after the cops had found Celeste in his car to finally cancel his tour. After LAPD raided his mansion in the hills, he conveniently ended the lease and moved out. And where is David right now? Well, apparently he's been playing Fortnite to get his mind off things. I am not joking. Right after he canceled the tour on the 19th, he hopped on Fortnite the next day. People found his Fortnite account and put it in a Fortnite tracker, and the account got privated, meaning David figured out they found his account. Now, with all this evidence going public, why is he not in jail yet? Well, I'm pretty sure that even though there's enough proof to make him guilty 20 times over, this proof has been scattered all over the internet to the general public. The police are probably still working on securing all the evidence they need to actually put out a warrant against him right now. For example, when YNW Melly got arrested for double homicide back in 2019, the investigation took 4 months. Now, granted, he didn't have a mountain of evidence against him being scattered all across the internet while he was still outside, but this shows that it takes a while for the police to get all the evidence they need to finally arrest someone. And in David's case, they're gonna have a much easier time getting all the evidence because of the Discord messages and the other public pieces of evidence. It's still gonna take some time to get evidence from the actual crime scene itself and get all the info they need. And they gotta bring this stuff in front of a judge and have them sign a warrant for his arrest. So basically, it takes a while to get a murderer arrested. They can't just bust down his door and get him yet. There's a whole process to this. But since law is really complicated, there's a lot of misinformation out there about this case. Just recently, there's been a lot of people going viral on TikTok saying David is innocent or David ain't a suspect anymore. This is not true. Either these people figured out that David isn't a suspect yet and misinterpreted that as him not being a suspect anymore, or they're just spreading misinformation to rage bait people and blow up, because by the way, views equals money. And also, there was a video where people thought Celeste was last seen at a show on his tour, but this is not the real Celeste. This is the other girl who's 23, who he's been hanging around with to try covering this up. By the time Celeste was discovered, David was over in Minnesota, so she was definitely in that car before the tour started. But regardless, an innocent child lost her life. David definitely knew Celeste, and there's way too much proof to back that up. His reputation is already ruined, but pretty soon the cops are gonna come knocking on his door.